Good morning. Well, after a very long period, we are back on the water. What a winter it's been. I'm just sneaking out on the very first of the tide. Um, for those that watch my videos, one of the reasons I haven't been out over winter is because they've been dredging the estuary. So this is the first time I've been out, so I'm just taking it carefully. My mooring is very clear, but the system they employed for dredging wasn't actually dredging. They just injected water into the mud on the outgoing tide and let it drift downstream. So it's where it's drifted downstream that's going to be the crucial one. So I'm just taking it very steadily to see if we can actually get out there, and we'll do a bit of fishing at last. Yeah, what a winter. Admittedly, couldn't use my boat anywhere. I could have trailed it somewhere else, but couldn't get on the mooring until Easter due to dredging. But that said, it was such a poor winter. The very few weather windows that were available for winter fishing seemed to be when I wasn't available anyway. Not that I was taking that much notice of it, because I couldn't go on the water anyway. Yeah, very poor winter. But yeah, dredging was finished by Easter. Boat went back in as soon as the dredging was finished. Easter weekend was awful, yeah, we are now on the week after Easter. The weekend after Easter, Grand National weekend. We'll get down there and see what we can find. I'll point the camera the other way, gingerly take it down this bit of the estuary, and I'll see you down the bottom of the river. Well, there we are. Hope that worked, and you enjoyed the little trip down the river, plus a drop into Salcombe to fill up my freshwater tank and wash a bit of seagull poo off. So yeah, the pleasures of the start of the season. Right, so here we are again, off for a day's fishing, hopefully. What am I expecting from today? Not a massive amount, if I'm honest. It's just a quick run out. I don't know what the sea conditions are going to be like. They'll be acceptable, but it was pretty breezy yesterday afternoon. The wind calmed down yesterday late evening, and it's due to pick up to quite a brisk southeasterly sometime later this morning or early afternoon. So that may potentially cut the day short. Southeasterly is horrible. It's horrible for fishing, horrible for the sea conditions. You'd expect it to be warm as well coming up from the near continent, but it's not. Hence the snud. It is cold. So yeah, it really is just to get out. It was a lovely little trip down the estuary, fairly quiet. The few of the usual suspects. A pair of heron flew right over the top. Some oyster catchers, curlew, cormorant skulls, that sort of thing. So that was really nice. But get out today. prove everything's working on the boat. Engine's obviously fully serviced, first trip out. Give the auxiliary a run, and if we catch a few fish, that's a bonus. I've got a couple of rods set up. I've got one with mackerel feathers. I've got one to fish for something off the bottom. It doesn't sound massively ambitious, but it has been the last few years. It'd be great just to catch a few mackerel, take half a dozen home for dinner. That would be lovely if there are any early season mackerel about. What's tended to happen in the last few years is we've managed to catch a few mackerel, although it's before now, March time, and then they pretty much disappear until about August. So there might be some about, there might not be any about. But I'll stick the mackerel feathers down. If we can catch something to eat, fine. If we can catch some bait, also good. I've got a couple of frozen mackerel, so I might try fishing on the bottom, scratching about a little bit, just to catch a fish, really. Make a change from the last few months. So yeah, that is the plan for the day, really. Just test out the boat, hopefully catch a few fish, but if not, it's a day on the water. So we'll see how it goes. I will have a look at the conditions. Just coming up on the bar now. The bar looks good, the horizon beyond that looks okay. Yeah, I'll get out there and decide where I'm going to go. See you in a bit. Really peaceful out here. As you can see, the sea's fairly glassy. Bit of residual swell from last night's wind. But yeah, other than that, really calm. I'm not very far out, just in 46 meters of water, drifting slowly, and I want to try bottom fishing over. It's a bit of a sandy bank here, but I didn't take my frozen mackerel out of the cool box, and it's still solid. So just give that a minute so it's thawed out enough for me to cut it into a bait size wedge. In the meantime, stick a mackerel feather down. There's absolutely nothing showing on the sounder. The water's nice and clear. The water was clear in the estuary, but I didn't see any signs of sand eels, anything like that. So that is fine. So this year, what we're going to do, you've got to have some targets for the year. I'd like to catch a turbot, or some turbot. I'd like to catch John Dory. I'd like to catch a double figure pollock. I'd like to catch a good sized bass. Had several last year, but not big ones. So a good sized bass, sort of over £5, ideally at the 7 mark. And I'd like to catch a good size cod, good for this area. Again, about the £7 mark, something like that, or higher. So that's what I'm hoping for this year. Turbot, John Dory, good sized bass, pollock and cod. 5 things. Will we tick any off today? Don't know. And as always, I'd like to catch some mackerel. Mackerel for bait, perfect. Mackerel to eat, perfect also. So yeah. Not massively ambitious, is it? Right, bottom fishing with the possibility of a turbot. Got a new rod this year. Got a rod for Christmas, Daiwa Super Kenzaki, 12 to 20. Let me just stop that lead from rolling about. Daiwa Super Kenzaki, 12 to 20. 12 to 20 pound class just works for me. You can catch all the fish that I want to with a 12 to 20. They're strong enough, but light enough to be fun. So that's that. I've got on it my Penn Fathom 2-speed lever drag, the 15 size, really good reel, loaded with braid, 40 pound braid. Then for bottom fishing, running ledger, just onto a couple of foot of 25 pound fluoro, a few attractors, a sea beast, and I've got a quarter strip of a mackerel. Just hooked once on the thick side. Idea being hook it on the thick side so the thin side can flap about, release a bit of scent, and yeah, give it a bit of movement as it's dragging on the bottom. There's the mackerel, so just fillet it off and then in half. That won't go to waste either. I've started cutting it into little chunks. I'll tip the mackerel feathers with that and see if we can't just attract something with that. So where are we? Yep, good. I've not got an awful lot of tide today. It's fairly slack tides anyway. Yeah, just half a knot of drift. I want that to drag a little bit, so I've just got a 5-ounce ball lead on that. There we are on the bottom. I'll just let the boat drift away from that for a minute. Stick it on a light ratchet and let it do its own thing. There's always a bit of a debate for this sort of thing, whether it should be a circle hook or I've got a sea beast on there. Circle hooks, they work well, and I do use them for certain types of things. The idea behind a circle hook is that the fish will hook itself, it'll move away from the bait, then the hook will turn and catch in the corner of its mouth. If I catch a turbot, I'm going to keep it, so I'm not that fussed if it's deep hooked or not. It's also the start of the season and I can't resist striking. So yeah, if you strike with a circle hook, you'll pull it out of the fish's mouth unless it's swimming in a perpendicular to the way the line's going out. If it's just chasing the bait and in a line with your line and your terminal gear, then the circle hook won't bite. So yeah, so I've got a sea beast on. Turbot, they've got massive mouths, so you don't have to worry about the size of the hook. I've got a 6.0 on there, nice and strong. There, I'll let that do that thing. Bait up some mackerel feathers and bring you back in a tick. So, there's a little cloud of bait on the bottom, but the mackerel feathers are not picking them up, so I might have another quick pass with some sabikis, see if it's some launce. It'd be nice to get some fresh launce. I'm not quite in the same spot, but that cloud is on the sounder again, and I'm right in it with the sabikis. So not sure what it might be. Mackerel feathers are not picking it up and sabikis are not picking it up. Could be just very tiny, sort of matchstick size sand eels. I'll show you the sounder. That's what we've gone through. So that's quite a chunk of something on the bottom. But I've got bait on the bottom. It's not going for that. Tried it with mackerel feathers, not going for that. Tried it with sabikis. Unless it does just confirm that I am actually a rubbish fisherman. It's quite similar, I think, a similar time of year. Last year when might have been touch later on, we're catching bass and it was just literally sand eel about this size. So even with sabikis, they're only feeding on tiny plankton. I've got size 12 sabikis on there, and if they're too big, then yeah, you're going to struggle. The sabikis have produced something. Is this going to be the first fish of 2026? It is a huge great launce. Look at the size of that one. I prefer them a little bit smaller, but yeah, great bait all the same. I'd be very surprised if that's what that the big shine on the sounder was, because that size launce would absolutely chew up sabikis like that. Just re-rigging to move about, and I think we've got another one. Yeah, another really nice launce. There he is. I've just sorted the rigs out. I'm not going to stay here. That bait I had on the bottom, just pulled it right across the reef, and there's not a mark on it. Yeah, not a mark on it. So I'm going to re-rig and go to a different area. I've only got the two launce there, but I've got that bit of frozen bait. So I'm going to re-rig with mackerel feathers. Try somewhere else to catch a mackerel, but I'll suspend those lawns a few feet off the bottom on a bit of reef a little bit further out. So that is the plan. Oh, another launce. Might stay for a minute first. There we are. That's a much better size. So that is really good. I'm obviously a bit rusty on the camera after the long winter break, and I'm sorry to say you missed the exciting event of fishing Salcomb's first pouting of the year. Came onto the baited feathers, thought I'd press the buttons properly. No. There's a bit of activity on the sounder right on the bottom, which could be weed on here. The reef goes from sand to weedy to rocks. It changes each year in different areas, or it could be just marauding, pouting down there right on the bottom. Another great launce on the mackerel feathers, foul hooked, but that felt better. That was a bigger bite. Love baited feathers. Simple, easy, and can be productive. What have we got then? Oh. But they do attract scavengers, that being the prime culprit. At least we're quite shallow here, so they'll all return. I don't really want pouting for bait. I could keep them for bait, but I don't want to use them today, and you can always catch them fresh, so there's no point in taking them home to freeze, really. Some places get plagued with dogfish. For me, it's pouting. I think that one might have come off, actually. Unless it's a launce, of course. Feels like there's something more than the lead there, but not much. And not much being that little fella. Oh, another nice launce. And in amongst them, lots of little pout. So, another pout. Don't know if you watch Danny on YouTube down in the Channel Islands, Inglorious Fishing. He declares himself the turbot king, and probably rightly so. A bit less prestigious declaring yourself the pouting king. I'll try and avoid that title. Slight change of plan. The reef wasn't doing it. More pouting, one more launce, and that was it. So the wind has picked up, but it's southerly. It hasn't gone around to the southeast. So I've just come out to a wreck, which is just about 10 minutes further out from the reef, and the drift is a decent angle to fish across it. Had the first drift and confirmed that I can't fish 2 rods on a reef. Lost the live bait, so I'm giving the lures a go. The lure rod never even got in the water on the first drift, just dropped it down. As soon as it touched the wreck, got stuck, and yeah, that's that gone. So just coming on the reef, on the wreck now. There we are. Got about 0.7, 0.8 of a knot adrift. Which should be enough to have fish on the feed. I've got a 5-inch Jerry mackerel on there. I normally favour the smaller ones, but yeah, that one was just looking at me out of the lure box. There's some fishing sense to fishing this wreck because the drift direction is good, and the state of the tide has just built up to about the right level that the fish should be starting to come on the feed. The other reason it makes sense to come onto this wreck is that the breeze is south, and from here Salcombe is due north, so I get a nice soft ride following sea on the way home. Can't resist, drop down to the 4-inch for drift 2. $70 meters, 0.9. Just skirting the edge of the wreck. And we're into a fish, yes. Do like those 4-inch sidewinders. There's something different. Try not to wreck my boat. It's a coma. We're getting more and more of these. You'd think it was wrasse family, but I don't think it is. And that's actually a decent size one for what it is. Let me unhook. There it is, very pretty looking fish. The colour's under its eyes. There we are. I thought it was a bigger fish than that actually. That yeah, had a nice bit of fight to it. There we are, that's off the wreck. Interesting, let's see what else we can find. It's a big old pout. We all need excuses for not catching fish. I can't see it on the surface, but can you see that on the line? May rot. It's a really thick, gungy algae. Yeah, the fish don't like it. Biggest pout of the day, and that one's blown, so I'll take that back for bait. Yeah, well, it's a bit disappointing on this wreck, I have to say, but yeah, there's I noticed it coming up on the line. I don't know if you can you see it tangled up in the reel there? Just some clumps of yeah, it's an algal bloom type thing, and yeah, it's called May rot because you used to get it in May, but yeah, as with anything, the seasons are changing and we seem to be getting it earlier and earlier. You can see it on the surface sometimes in big clumps, which I can't see today. It was nice and clear, which is why I was sort of hopeful of lures on the reef, but if it's like that down there, yeah, I'm going to struggle. That's my excuse for today. Anyway, I've still got another 20 minutes, so we'll fish that out and see if there's anything better about. Actually, I think I'll change that plan. If there is May rot and I've had 10 or 12 drifts, something like that, and not done any good here, then yeah, I'm just going to waste the 20 minutes. So this sea's picking up a little bit as well, but there's a little reefy section on a direct line back in, so I'm going to swap to mackerel feathers. Sometimes this time of year you can get mackerel deep down in the little gullies on this reef, so yeah, I'll head that way with the mackerel feathers, I think, and give that a go for the last 20 minutes when I get there. Catching not very many fish I can live with, I'm used to it, but that big horrible cloud's coming this way, it's starting to rain, the sea's turning white. I'm not catching the mackerel here, so I'm going back in. First trip of the season, absolutely fine. It was lovely to have a day out. The boat's all working fine, engine's great. Yeah, it was one of those short trips where if you had to choose a tide not to come out, it would be one like today, particularly with a southeasterly wind, although it is a bit more south. And May rot in the water doesn't help really. It is difficult this time of year. Normally it's tempered by the fact that we've got good weather, so you don't mind so much, but yeah, this is getting grisly now, so yeah, I'm going to call it a day at that. Head back in, try and get ahead of this rain. Thank you very much for watching. Back next time for some decent fishing. See you then. Cheers.